3 months into dating, I started noticing changes. Ava's voice carried a sharper edge when she talked about my family. "Your parents are adorable," she said once, "but they're so old-fashioned." I laughed it off, but it stung a little. She'd smirk when my mom sent me long texts about Sunday dinner. "She's really involved in your life, isn't she?" I told myself she was just joking. But the jokes kept coming. When my dad came over to help fix a shelf, she whispered, "Does he own a shirt without paint stains?" That was the first crack. The second came when she skipped my sister's birthday dinner. She said she had a migraine. Later, I saw her tagged in a photo at a rooftop bar. I didn't say anything that night. I wanted to believe the best version of her. But something inside me twisted. Her phone became a mystery box. She used to leave it on the table, screen up. Now it was always face down. She'd take calls in another room. Once, I saw a message preview pop up. It said, "Can't wait to see you again." The name was Chris. I asked her who he was. She said, "Just a client, don't be paranoid." That word hit me like a slap. Paranoid. Suddenly, I was the problem. Every question became an accusation in her eyes. Every concern was my insecurity. I began doubting my instincts. Maybe I was too sensitive. Maybe I didn't trust enough. That's how she made me feel. Unsure, guilty, small. The next shift was about money. She complained about her debts, about how hard she worked. Then she started expecting me to pay. Not asking, expecting. If I hesitated, she'd sigh, "I thought you were different from other guys." It worked. I paid for dinners, for movies, for gas. I told myself it was what boyfriends do. But the balance between us was gone. She was in control now. When I suggested staying home one night, she rolled her eyes. "My ex never made me split bills," she said. That one sentence cut deep. She knew exactly how to guilt me. Still, I stayed. Because the good moments, when she smiled, when she curled up next to me, felt real. I clung to those moments like proof that everything else could be fixed. Friends started noticing, though. My buddy Noah pulled me aside. "She talks down to you, man," he said. "You sure you're okay?" I defended her, of course. "She's just stressed with work." But deep down, I wasn't sure anymore. I missed the girl I met at that birthday party. The one who laughed easily and listened. This version of Ava was colder, calculated. She wanted control over everything. My plans, my family, my peace. And I kept giving it, piece by piece. I didn't realize it then, but she wasn't just drifting away. She was building a story in her mind. A story where she'd be the victim, and I'd be the fool who never saw it coming. By month 6, the distance between us felt heavier. Ava stopped joining me for family dinners altogether. "There's always another Sunday," she said, scrolling her phone. But family dinners weren't just meals. They were home. When she refused again, my mom asked, "Is Ava okay?" I lied and said she had work. The truth was she didn't care anymore. Her weekends became a blur of girls' nights and work events. She dressed differently too, flashier, colder. I noticed the perfume that wasn't mine lingering on her coat. Her smiles were thinner now, practiced. When I tried to talk, she turned defensive. "Ethan, you're making problems that don't exist." She said it so calmly, made me question myself again. Gaslighting doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers until you believe it. She started criticizing how close I was to my family. "It's not normal for a grown man to see his parents every week," she said. I told her that's how I was raised. She laughed. Exactly. Her sarcasm was sharp enough to cut. Even my friends noticed the change. Noah pulled me aside again after work. "She's isolating you, man. Be careful." I brushed it off, though the warning stuck. I wanted to prove everyone wrong. I wanted Ava to love me like before. But love wasn't what she wanted. Control was. It showed in small ways. What shirt I wore, who I texted, where I went. She asked, "Why are you texting Lily so late?" "She's my sister," I answer. Ava would smirk, just making sure. It was a joke that didn't sound like one. Then came the money fights. Her credit cards were always maxed out. She'd show up with new clothes and call them gifts from a client. When I asked about her budget, she snapped. "Why are you keeping tabs on me? I'm not a child." But she still let me pay every time. I started feeling used. Still, I couldn't pull away. When she was sweet, it was addictive. She'd touch my arm, say, "You're the only one who understands me." And for a moment, I believed it. That was her trick, breaking me down, then pulling me close. Every argument ended the same way. She cried, I apologized. Even when I was right, I felt wrong. By the 7th month, the silence between us said everything. She'd sit beside me scrolling through her phone for hours. If I asked what she was reading, she'd reply, "Just work stuff." But the light in her eyes was somewhere else. Some nights she stayed out late. "Late meeting," she'd say. No meeting lasts until midnight. I knew it, but fear kept me quiet. Fear of losing her. Fear of being alone. I told myself love meant forgiveness. But what I called love was just habit wrapped in denial. Somewhere deep down, I already knew. I just didn't want to see the truth staring back at me. It was a Tuesday morning when everything exploded. I was at work fixing a network issue when my phone buzzed. Ava had texted me a long message. Her words froze my blood. "Ethan, I'm really upset. Your dad made a pass at me at the hardware store." I read it 3 times, unable to breathe. She said he cornered her, touched her arm, and called her beautiful. She claimed he asked her out for coffee. My dad. The man who still opens doors for my mom after 30 years. The man who never flirts, never crosses lines. I felt sick. My mind kept searching for logic. Maybe she misunderstood. Maybe it was another man. But she described his blue truck, his jacket, his voice. Every detail was too perfect to dismiss. My heart pounded. If this was true, it would shatter my family. But something in me refused to believe it. I needed to hear his voice. At lunch, I drove home where Ava was working remotely. She looked pale and shaken when I walked in. "I didn't know if I should tell you," she whispered. I said, "Let's call him now." Her eyes widened. "No, Ethan, please don't. It'll make things worse." I ignored her and dialed my dad's number. The phone rang 3 times before he picked up. "Hey, son, how's your day?" His tone was calm, steady, normal. "Where are you right now, Dad?" "At St. Mary's Hospital. Your mom's surgery started an hour ago." My stomach dropped. Ava's face drained of color. I played along. "Oh, right, I forgot it was today. How's she doing?" "She's doing fine. Been here since 6 this morning." He paused. "Why do you ask?" I glanced at Ava. She looked trapped, frozen mid-breath. I said, "No reason, just checking in." Then my dad's voice changed slightly. "Actually, why do you ask about the hardware store? I haven't been there in days." Ava stood up, stammering. I kept my eyes on her. "Because Ava said she saw you there." Silence. Then my dad spoke again, sharper this time. "That's a damn lie. I've been at the hospital all morning." Ava's hands trembled. I asked, "You're sure you didn't stop anywhere else?" He sighed. "The only stop I made was the gas station for coffee. Oh, and funny thing." He hesitated. "I saw Ava this morning. She was outside the Grandview Hotel with some guy." Everything inside me went still. He continued, "Black BMW. She looked pretty close to him." I couldn't speak. Ava's breath hitched. Tears filled her eyes, but not the kind that come from pain. The kind that come from being caught. I ended the call quietly. Then I turned to her. "So, Ava," I said, Would you like to explain which part of this was supposed to fool me? She whispered, I can explain. But the only sound in the room was the death of every lie she'd ever told. The silence between us was heavy enough to choke on. Ava stood frozen, her face white, her eyes darting everywhere but mine. I asked again, slower this time. Were you at that hotel with someone else? Her lips trembled before words came out. Yes, she whispered. It was Chris. I didn't react. My body was too numb for anger. How long? I asked quietly. 3 months, she said, barely audible. 3 months. That explained everything. The phone, the lies, the late nights. I laughed, but it sounded hollow. So you've been cheating, and when my dad saw you, you accused him of harassing you. She started crying harder. I panicked, Ethan. I thought he'd tell you what he saw. So you tried to destroy his reputation instead. It wasn't like that. I wasn't thinking straight. No, Ava, you were thinking very clearly. I showed her the text on my phone. You described his truck, his clothes, the store. That's not panic. That's planning. She covered her face with her hands. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. Yes, you did, I said. You just didn't think you'd get caught. The tears kept coming, but they meant nothing now. They were just her last attempt at control. I stood up and pointed to the door. Get out. She looked up stunned. Ethan, please, we can fix this. I'll end things with Chris. I'll apologize to your dad. There's no fixing this, I said. You lied about something that could have ruined a man's life. Her voice cracked. I made a mistake. No, you made a choice. She shook her head, reaching for my arm. I stepped back. Every time I doubted you, you called me paranoid. Every time I trusted you, you lied. Her shoulders slumped. Where am I supposed to go? Call your boyfriend, I said flatly. Or take a cab, I don't care. Her crying turned to pleading. Ethan, please, I love you. I almost laughed again. Love? You don't love anyone. You just use people until they stop believing your stories. She stood there for a moment, mascara streaking down her face. Then she gathered her purse and laptop. This isn't over, she said weakly. It's over, I replied. You just don't know how to live without lies. She left without looking back. The door clicked shut, and the apartment felt suddenly too quiet. I sat down, staring at the floor, trying to process the wreckage. The woman I'd loved for 8 months had nearly destroyed everything good in my life. I thought about my dad at the hospital, my mom asleep after surgery, unaware of the storm. And I realized something simple but sharp. Monsters don't always come with warnings. Sometimes they smile, kiss you goodnight, and whisper they love you. Then they light the match and walk away before the smoke clears. I drove straight to the hospital after she left. My hands were still shaking on the wheel. Dad was sitting in the waiting room with a book and terrible coffee. He looked up and smiled when he saw me. Hey son, you okay? I nodded, though I was. She's gone, I said quietly. He set the cup down, studying my face. What happened? So I told him everything. The text. The lie. The hotel. Every disgusting detail of what Ava tried to do. He didn't interrupt once. When I finished, he leaned back and exhaled slowly. You handled it right, he said. You gave me a chance to defend myself. I felt guilt crawl up my throat. I should have known immediately she was lying. He shook his head. No one expects a lie that big. You trusted her. That's not weakness. He smiled sadly. But you saw the truth when it mattered. Those words hit deeper than anything else. We sat together, in silence for a while. Then he said softly, Your mom's out of surgery. She's fine. Relief washed over me like air after drowning. When Mom woke up, she smiled weakly. Where, Ava? She asked. She couldn't make it, I said. Work stuff. Mom gave me a look that said she didn't believe it, but she let it go. I was grateful. She didn't need to know the details. That night, I told Ryan and Lily what happened. They were furious. Ryan's voice was sharp. She accused Dad. That's insane. Lily shook her head in disbelief. Some people have no conscience. They both promised to stand by me, and they did. The next few days were chaos. Ava kept calling from new numbers. She showed up at my building once. I didn't open the door. She left voicemails saying she was sorry, that she was scared, that she'd lost everything. For once, I didn't feel sympathy. I felt nothing. Then I made a decision. I screenshotted our messages, the false accusation, the confession, all of it. I posted them on social media with a single caption. This is what liars do when they're caught. The reaction was instant. Friends shared it. People commented in disbelief. Everyone saw her mask fall. Her world collapsed within days. Her company fired her after discovering she'd been leaking client info to Chris. He ghosted her completely. Apparently, he was married. Ava lost her job, her reputation, her illusion of control. She moved back to her parents' place in another state. I didn't check on her again. I was done saving people who set fires and called it love. Dad came over a week later to help me change the locks. Fresh start, he said, patting my shoulder. For the first time in weeks, I smiled. He was right. Sometimes losing someone is the only way to find peace again. The weeks after everything ended felt strangely quiet. No calls. No chaos. Just silence and air that finally felt clean. For the first time in months, I slept without checking my phone. My family called every day. Not out of pity, but love. Dad fixed the door lock while joking about how no liar can break this one. Mom made my favorite dinner and said, "You dodged a bullet, honey." Ryan and Lily dropped by with beer and laughter that filled the apartment again. For a while, I just listened to them talk. It felt like coming home after a long storm. One night, Dad said something that stayed with me. When people show you who they are, believe them. He was right. Ava had shown me exactly who she was. I just refused to see it. But pain has a way of sharpening your vision. I started reading about manipulation, gaslighting, emotional abuse. Every paragraph felt like a mirror. I realized how slowly she had pulled me away from my family. How she planted doubt and made herself the center of my world. How she made me question what I knew was true. She was never just lying to me. She was rewriting my reality. The scariest part wasn't that she cheated. It was how close I came to believing her lie about my dad. If he hadn't answered the phone, if he hadn't seen her that morning, I might have turned on the one man who never once let me down. That thought still makes my stomach twist. But out of all the damage she caused, something good grew from it. My family became closer than ever. We started a new routine, Wednesday dinners at my place. Nothing fancy. Just pizza, beer, and bad jokes. But it meant everything. No masks. No pretending. Just real people who loved each other without condition. Those nights healed parts of me I didn't know were broken. We laughed again. We argued about movies. We teased Dad about his obsession with overcooked steaks. It was simple, but it was real. A few months later, I started dadding again. I met a woman named Rachel. She worked as a teacher and had the calmest eyes I'd ever seen. When I told her about my family dinners, she smiled. "That's beautiful," she said. "I wish my family did that." We talked for hours about home, trust, and love that doesn't hurt. When I mentioned my dad helping me fix my car, she said, "He sounds like a good man." I smiled. He is. Because he truly is. He's the kind of man who stands by you when the world tries to break you. And now, I know the kind of person I want to be too. Not bitter. Not afraid. Just honest. Because lies destroy everything they touch. But truth no matter how painful, always builds you back stronger. Sometimes I still think about that day. The text, the fear, the silence after her lies collapsed. It feels like another lifetime now. Back then, I thought love meant forgiveness. Now I know love also means boundaries. I learned that trust is fragile, but truth is stronger. Ava tried to break my family apart, but she failed. Because what's built on honesty can't be destroyed by deceit. My dad still calls me every Sunday morning. My mom still sends too many recipes. I still go to Wednesday dinners, no matter how busy I am. We laugh louder now. We hug longer. We remember how close we came to losing it all. And maybe that's the point of it. Pain teaches what peace never could. It strips away illusions until all that's left is real. If I could speak to the man I was before, I'd tell him this. You didn't lose love. You lost a lie. And sometimes, that's the best kind of ending you can get.